outdoor pursuits instructor Ian Fox.
I know the area a bit, so that'll help me over some of the others who are not too sure of the rain and the mountains, so...
Last year's winner, Army PTI Jim Wood.
You can put your foot into a bog and then come up with no shoe or foot.
Pontypool and Wales Rugby Union scrum half David Bishop.
The boys are great, and they're helping me out as much as possible because it's all new to me.
All-round endurance athlete from Belfast, Peter Spence.
It's undoubtedly going to be tough, but that's the challenge of it, you know. I mean, you don't want to make it easy.
Bath and England Rugby Union fullback Chris Martin.
If the weather really closes in, it gets really muddy. I think the little bit extra power could help.
British Olympic swimming team captain Robin Brew.
A lot of us are just going to be using brute strength and ignorance and ending up all over the show.
Twice a previous winner, Marine Bernie Shrewsbury.
It all suits me. The more harder it is, I think the better I like it, really.
Dutch Marine Piet Olbersberg.
There's no hills in Holland. Holland is all flat. I think I'm glad that it's finished Friday.
And they all take part in the Britvic 55 Challenge. But for one man, it's already all over. David Bishop smashed into a rock on the whitewater swim and cannot continue.
Whatever happened in this one?
So 5 events have gone so far in our competition, and let's have a look at the scoreboard, which makes pretty interesting reading, particularly here at the top, where the 2 leaders, with 1 point between them, Bernie Shrewsbury and Robin Brew,
Over the log. Yeah. They're pushing the log away from it.
Are still prepared to help each other despite their fierce rivalry.
On this side, the log's on top of you.
Yeah.
You can't get over it.
That's all right. Yeah, I heard you. Cheers, mate. That's sportsmanship, that's what I'm saying. Neck and neck again now.
Our next event, the 5th event, takes us through the halfway point of the competition. And for it, we've come to the beautiful Pontcovin Falls here on the River Tigui near Capelkirrig. It's the aerial ropes course, and it now almost goes without saying it's tougher than ever before. The competitors have to cross the river 4 times in all. And all the old favourites are here. The commando crawl right down the bottom, then there's the death slide, and the postman's walk behind me has been moved up over this white water, which makes it even more treacherous. And there are also a couple of innovations. Down at the bottom, we've got a little thing we've nicknamed the budgie perch, only I don't think the competitors are going to have any fun at all swinging on it. This time they go one at a time, and it's a battle against the clock.
Piet Olbersberg, the Dutch Marine, is first to go. After disappointing performances in the previous 5 events, Piet needs to find his true form in this one if he's to challenge the men in the lead. Of all 9 events, it's the aerial ropes course that the Dutchman thinks will suit his abilities best. And his experience of rope work is clearly evident on the 120-foot traverse, which he crosses with exceptional speed.
Keep pulling.
32-year-old Olbersberg, a sergeant in the Royal Netherlands Marines, was the pick of a large number of Dutch athletes who competed for the privilege of becoming the Netherlands representative in this year's survival of the fittest. A highly trained parachutist and frogman, Piet is not likely to be put off by the next challenge either, a miniature death slide.
The Dutchman setting a time which is going to be difficult to beat, even for the others who fancy their chances in this unique ropes event.
Course designer Nigel Shepherd has cunningly routed the obstacles so that different sets of muscles are successively brought into play. Arms, legs and lungs are exercised in turn, and at every stage there's a critical test of judgment and sheer nerve.
At 32, Piet Olbersberg is the 2nd oldest competitor in the group. He's got strength and stamina, but so far this week has not realised his potential. He's driving hard in this event, though. Piet knows he has to fight for every second because there are specialists to follow, like British Royal Marine Shrewsbury and Wood, the Army PTI, who are both former winners of Survival of the Fittest.
33-year-old Jim Wood is another whose form has been below par. But he might have learned something from watching the daredevil approach of the Dutchman, now halfway round the course. A postman's walk in a cosy gymnasium with foam rubber safety beds can be daunting enough to some. This foam, though, offers no protection against what one competitor called a fate worse than drowning. Jim Wood a trifle slower than the Dutchman on that first traverse.
The second leap to the water is from a low ledge, but it leads to that little rope trick which everyone's been dreading, the budgie perch. If this was the first obstacle in the event, it would be forbidding enough, but halfway around the course it puts unwelcome demands on a competitor's reserves of muscular power, not to mention strength of will.
Meanwhile, Jim Wood can enjoy one of the things he really likes, the death slide.
All Pete Olbersberg has to do is get his body just once over the budgie bar. No problem for budgies, but for a desperately tired athlete, it's going to be one hell of a feat. Well, as expected, it was the budgie perch which slowed up Olbersberg and denied him what would have been a truly excellent time. He's not finished yet, though, and Jim Wood still has the worst parts to come.
Oké, touw strak houden. Gaat. Oké, dat is het. Hup, over, ja. Kom op.
The Dutch Marine copes well with the last item, designed to catch out aching muscles and wobbly nerves. This has easily been the Dutchman's best performance so far, despite a hiccup or two. His finishing time of 7.5 minutes has really thrown down the gauntlet.
Jim Wood is still behind the Dutch Marine at this stage, but he's making up time on the postman's walk. The biggest man of the group, the 6 feet 3 inches, 16 stone Bath and England rugby fullback, Chris Martin. Jim Wood will have just one thing on his mind now, that budgie swing. Chris's 16 stones are making that rope traverse even more difficult. And it remains to be seen whether Jim Wood's smaller frame will help him make light work of the most difficult obstacle on the course. Two men, two ropes, and totally different techniques called for. Well, despite a brave show by Jim, he's still behind the Dutch Marine's time. Jim's sense of balance still intact, but he doesn't have the legs now to pull back much on the Dutchman's excellent time. The big man Martin still powers on. And 30 seconds adrift of Olbersberg's time, Jim Wood will have to settle down to watching how the others do. When a big man like Chris hits water, there's no certainty about where exactly he might surface.
Ulsterman Peter Spence is the fourth man to go, and it may be an advantage to have seen the performance of the first three. A sudden slip can serve as a salutary warning when there are greater dangers ahead. In fact, to slip off any of these ropes could be a painful and dangerous experience. 25-year-old Irish canoeist Peter Spence enjoys cross-country running, badminton and the triathlon. An excellent recovery by the Irishman.
And an amazing recovery by systems engineer Chris Martin. Cornishman Chris gained an honours degree in mathematics at Bath, the city for which he's now a star rugby player.
For Peter Spence, the first ordeal is nearly over. Spence has lost some time on the traverse, but is relieved to be safely across.
That way.
Chris Martin is now making slow progress, and his bulk, which he uses so effectively in rugby, is really working against him.
Whilst Peter Spence finds the scramble net a little difficult, Chris Martin surprises everyone by showing a totally different but very effective way over that troublesome trapeze.
Go back, go!
Get off fucking way!
The English Rugby International finishes strongly, but his time is nearly 1.5 minutes slower than that of the Dutchman. Fox, the mountain activities instructor, is the smallest of the 7 men. But that could be an advantage here, and he really fancies his chances.
Now it's Spence's turn on that apparatus which has come to be regarded as an item of torture rather than a test of athletic ability.
Fox is still going well, and he's only a couple of seconds down on the Dutchman.
For the game but tiring Ulsterman, it's the moment he wishes he had wings.
Fox doesn't need wings, he's really flying.
The same can't be said for poor Pete Spence, who's losing a lot of time on what, after all, is one of the most intriguing and punishing obstacles ever devised for the competition. There is a right way to approach the bar to prevent it swivelling, and it's a battle-weary Spence who eventually finds it.
Ian Fox speeds onwards with what could be a winning time.
The durable Irishman proves he's not lost his sense of balance, despite the battering his nerves and sinews must have taken on that perch.
And for Ian Fox, in top form, the 30-foot leap is pure pleasure.
And as Peter Spence comes in 2 minutes behind the leading time, he deserves considerable praise for a brave and tenacious performance against the odds.
Mountain activities expert Ian Fox knows his time is good, but he's also aware that there are 2 super athletes still to come.
And one of these is RAF PTI Robin Broom, British Olympic swimming team captain and a remarkable all-round athlete.
Ian Fox scarcely breaks his stride as he goes for the trapeze. And after the 5 previous events, he's fully aware of the potential of the man behind him. If Fox could have hauled himself over the log with one swift movement, his lead might have been unassailable by now.
But Robin Brew's time at the end of the 120-foot traverse is exactly that clocked by Ian Fox. So it could still rest on their respective times on that budgie perch.
Well, Fox is the quickest so far over the bar, but things are going very smoothly for the Olympic swimmer.
Well done, well done.
Push it in, come on!
A gutsy performance from Ian Fox, and he's in the lead in this event.
18, 19.
And his official time, 7 minutes 20 seconds, is fully 10 seconds better than the previous fastest.
The man following, though, is equal on the clock. And although Robin Brew will be delighted if he can improve on Fox's excellent time, it's his turn now to worry about the next man in.
Take your marks.
The magnificent but modest Marine, Bernie Shrewsbury. Twice already a winner of survival of the fittest. An athlete whose speed, agility, strength and stamina have earned him the nickname Superman. But even Bernie, whose fierce determination to win has become a legend in competitions of this kind, will have to punish mind and muscle every inch of the way if he's to check the challenge from his newest rival, RAF PTI and Olympic swimmer, superstar Robin Brew. Shrewsbury, though, is the man who knows the ropes better than anyone in this competition, and he's the equal of Brew at the end of the traverse. He also knows how to pace himself perfectly.
Robin Brew has carefully observed the differing fortunes of the previous 5 competitors on that bird perch, and he might well have picked up some do's and don'ts.
Although Bernie's death slide isn't quite the kind he intended, he's still going in top gear.
But Brew is the first man to master the perch, and he gains valuable seconds. He'll need them too, for the mighty Marine behind seems to be jet-propelled.
Good lad, that's the game. Come on, Bernie. Let's go. Well done, mate. Go for 3. Go. Come on, Rob.
Finishing in 7 minutes 14, Olympic swimming star Robin Brew has knocked 5 seconds off the previous fastest time.
Right.
But it's the measure of Royal Marine Shrewsbury's performance that at this stage he's an incredible 10 seconds ahead on the clock. And it will now surely depend on how he copes with that obstacle. Call it what you will, the budgie perch, the monkey swing, the trapeze torture, and a whole lot of much less polite things. And that's exactly where it goes wrong for Bernie. He fatefully makes his ascent from the awkward side of the log and wipes out his 10-second advantage. He recovers magnificently, though, and the fight against the clock is still on. Bernie's heard the countdown and he's going for it.
Well, he failed by just 1 second and has to concede victory in this event to the man who will now share overall lead in the competition with him, Robin Brew.
You're always looking to do well in this event.
No, I was looking to finish it.
The best effort on that bird perch of any.
I was lucky, I think. I just managed to go the right side, maybe. I don't know. I'd drown in that water. Supposed to be a swimmer.
But you had a good go on the death slide, too. You tucked yourself well up above the water.
Yeah, I saw Bernie do it before. I watched the video. Yeah. Good effort by Robin there. Very good technique. That's what I had to work on, really.
I knew this was going to be a tough one, seeing Ian going underneath. Obviously, he had a lot faster time. And Robin's technique on the bird perch there was excellent.
You got in a little bit of trouble there, didn't you?
Just a snag around there. It's just life, I suppose. I was quite pleased, though, really. Very pleased. Shame it's so close, but we just can't afford to make a mistake.
All went very smoothly until he got to the budgie perch.
Budgie perch, just a bit short on that one. I think the other height's out from that, but it's hard. Very hard, that one.
And the other thing, of course, he was so light. He came right across on the depth slide, didn't hit the water almost until he hit the dinghy.
I know. The less time in the water, the better.
When you got to the 2 jumps into the river, on neither occasion did you hesitate at all. You went straight in.
If you hesitate too much, you don't jump, do you?
Especially if you don't like getting wet.
That's right.
I think when you start on this event, you had to give everything, so...
Well, I can tell you, I've seen it for the last 4 years, and you're the fastest man I've ever seen go across that commando rope there.
You mean it?
Oh, I do mean it. Very much so. That's the best I've ever seen it done. And although, when you got to the perch, you were tired.
I think when I was hanging on that rope under the bar, I think to myself, how can I go over it?
I struggled on that log. Blew me out.
That bird perch. You're pretty exhausted by the time you get there.
Oh, yeah, I think so. Being out of breath and plunging into water. Of course, when you're rapid breathing, it's a hell of a job underwater doing that.
Big achievement to get around, I think.
I think you got every right to be pleased. I think it was a tremendous run. The only time you had real trouble was on the postman's walk. You missed your footing for
Well, that's right. You know, through the army lads around said, try to keep your weight forward, keep your head forward. And lack of concentration, and I slipped.
Well, I must confess that I wonder whether you'd even get over that budgie swing, because that's been very hard for everybody, and you've got to be at least 2-3 stone heavier than anyone else here.
That's right, I found that was the easiest part of it.
Magnificent form with your upward circle.
Yeah, that's right. The old gymnastics come in handy there.
I just stuck there. I just wanted to finish because I knew that it was pretty physical. I had a reasonably good go on the aerial rope. I just kept it going as best as I could, you know. I think that was my worst event, but at least the form was through, so nobody can laugh at me.
So it's Olympic swimmer Robin Brew and Marine Bernie Shrewsbury leading jointly with 44 points. Mountain activities instructor Ian Fox can still challenge them in the next event, the downhill run, which this year takes place on the hills above Nant-Frankum Pass. And before they can wield their axes in the lumberjack event, they'll have to carry their logs from the high forest.